I'd like to introduce this Mongolia's banking sector, especially the short history of the latest development of sustainable finance. And I hope it will be informative. And also it is very closely related to how we organize these big projects. And also at the end, I'd like to mention about our Golomt Bank's specific cases shortly. So Mongolia's financial sector has quite a good and proud history as early as oh really? Just a moment. I'm sorry about that.
Now everything is shared, Kato-san.
I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
Voilà. Okay. Sorry, everyone. So the Mongolia's banking sector, especially among the developing country, Mongolia was one of the first that we took the initiative to work on developing sustainable finance. As early as 2013, Mongolian Bankers Association started the study to set up the Mongolian Sustainable Finance Principle, and we call it the Mongolian Sustainable Finance Initiative. In 2015, basically at that time, all Mongolian commercial banks signed, committed to follow the Mongolian Sustainable Finance Principle. It's a great history that no other developing nations such history like us. It was very much private sector banks bottom-up approach, and each private commercial banks get together and agreed to work on sustainable finance development together. I, as a Japanese foreigner national, I feel this kind of this initiative started as such an early stage. Basically, in the background, there is a Mongolian people's very awareness and sensitivity to those environmental issues. That is my personal view. And very briefly, this history worked like 2013, just started the study. And we organized the forum. At that time, I remember I was in here as CEO of Han Bank. We didn't know very well what we should do. And we studied at MSFA, Mongolian Bank Association, and Mongolian Sustainable Finance Initiative under the title of MSFI. And 2015, after taking 2 years, the principle framework was agreed. And as like this, we all signed. And then 2019, I will explain more in detail the much bigger scale of a green investment framework are started to studied, and other stakeholders like government, ministries, and GCF, the world's largest fund, climate fund, start to discuss. And lately in 2019, Mongolian MSFI, Mongolian Sustainable Finance Initiative, came out from the MBA's framework to a Mongolian Sustainable Finance Association, born as a new NPO. And this MSFA covers not only banks, but the all financial sector. That's the mission of this NPO. And the green finance promotion is one of the main tasks this MSFA is working on, together with member banks and the member financial institutions like NBFI, insurance companies. So back in 2015, even before the Paris Agreement and SDGs are prevailing, in Mongolia, we agreed those are 8 basic principles. The national environment, protect the national environment, protect people and communities, protect cultural heritage, promote green economy growth, and promote financial inclusion, promote ethical financial and corporate governance, and promote transparency and accountability, and practice what we preach. Since then, at this moment, the banks agreed, yeah, we pay attention to do the environmental and social risk assessment and due diligence on the bank's loans over $25,000 equivalent. Since then, each bank started to make their own efforts. Some of the example here is some key ESMS elements like environment and social risk assessment, risk management framework. In 2014, out of 14 banks at that time that Mongolia had, only 3 banks had the sustainable finance policy and procedures at that time. 11 banks didn't have. But next year, 2015, 10 banks developed its own sustainable finance policy and procedure, and 4 banks didn't at that time. And then by 2016, all Mongolian banks had sustainable finance policy. Also, the MSFA is just an NPO private institution, but they use IFC's technical framework. They do assessment of the performance of those member banks in terms of sustainable finance. Obviously, this A+ is the best bank. We have 1 bank in 2020's research, and 2 banks were ranked A. 3 banks ranked B+, likewise. And also each bank's policy strategy, governance structure, and risk management, green finance, training, monitoring, and green office CSR strengths put on this graph to monitor the progress. And Mongolia's MSFA used the support of IFC's SBN, Sustainable Banking Network. And IFC organized emerging countries, central banks or regulators, and bankers associations invited as a member, and each country exchanged the information and to make the knowledge sharing and what to do and develop, try to move forward. As you see here, just a commitment level, formulating some format, developing, advancing, and fast movers, and then just maintaining, reach to the desirable stage. And Mongolia is recognized as in the advancing stage. Quite good. Only China and Indonesia is positioned as fast movers ahead of Mongolia. I briefly introduce this, this MSFA as a structure. We started the activity from MBA and now changed to departed from MBA and developed, organized Mongolian Sustainable Finance Association. And firstly, the members are only banks. And now we have foreign bank rep office, non-bank institutions, insurance, asset management companies, business organizations, and supporting members like a training institution, research institution, NGO. Those are our partners to work together. Membership is open pretty widely now. And some of the deliverables that MSFA made is a National Sustainable Finance Roadmap that MSFA in Mongolia, we call it TOC, T-O-C, work together with IFC, World Bank, or UN, and develop the roadmap of finance sector's sustainable finance development. Stakeholders are like a BOM, Central Bank, FRC, and MSFA, Minister of Finance, and Credit Guarantee Fund. Those appear as relevant partners. One of the big projects currently we are working on is establishment of a Mongolian Green Finance Corporation. It is a long-term project, started the study from 2017. A key organization is a GCF, the world's largest climate fund, focusing on helping the developing countries sustainable development and fight against climate change. And Bank is an accredited entity of Green Climate Fund, and Bank represents Green Climate Fund in Mongolia on behalf of GCF. Also, this project is need another partner, Government of Mongolia, Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Environment and Tourism, and private sector banks and NBFIs. This is private sector. Those three category groups are requested to become a shareholder of Mongolian Green Finance Corporation. This is a legal entity under the NBFI license, technically, and they receive the equity and also loan fund, base fund from global institutions, and make own lending through green customers and projects through commercial bank or NBFI, or this MGFC, the Green Finance Corporation itself, work as a co-leader, financier to support the projects. And we recently agreed this basic structure with GCF, and currently we are working on the government participation framework and private sector banks participation framework. Still, we need things to solve, we have solved, but then next step, the target of this MGFC is it's kind of one of the green bank that globally in certain countries under development. And we identified several projects like Gel district housing insulation, energy saving for business, energy efficient housing. And those are estimated, the market size is quite substantial. And those big numbers are the target after we launch this MGFC project. Big picture. And besides this, the other green loans, specific project, if we find, we may work together at this MGFC as MGFC's project. Now, another Mongolia's development that we can be also proud of is Mongolia's national green taxonomy. When we say green finance, what is the definition? What is the common understanding? That must be clear in order to avoid the greenwashing, for example, and encourage the green finance growth and track the private sector investments and form the policies and also make a clear reporting and accountability, maintain the accountability. This green taxonomy is one of the first all over the world as a country to stipulate and formulate the green taxonomy. This green taxonomy's owner is our Mongol Bank, and now Mongolian banks following this green taxonomy, promoting the green finance. And also now we are requested, Mongolian banks are requested to report to Mongol Bank about the growth of a green portfolio. This is a sample of Mongol Bank's statistics. Mongol Bank received the bank's report based on the taxonomy, and they publish those statistics. What area, how much the bank's portfolio are contributing to the development, green development. Also, at MSFA, what we are currently started to working on is working together with capital markets and green capital market policy and incentives, or Mongol stock exchanges and ESG, SDG listing rules, or green bond related rules. Those are all over the world in the capital markets pretty much developing now. And the Mongolian stock exchange still currently the size-wise pretty small, but in the past 2-3 years rapidly growing. And these green capital market projects are still at a very initial stage, but the MSFA closely working together with Mongol Stock Exchange, also getting help from IFC and other global institutions. Now, what MSFA's initiatives direction moving forward, the approve the National Sustainable Financial Principle and establish oversight committee and develop sustainable finance policies, or for non-banks and expand the sustainable finance into rest of the financial sector other than banks. Now our membership by the non-bank, NBFIs, insurance, and fintech type companies are increasing. We also work on gender issue, gender equality, and reporting. Sustainable finance reporting is an important, very important subject to maintain the accountability, avoiding greenwashing. And we want to develop the standard tool to assess how much our banking sector, financial sector, contributing to the fight against climate change or reducing the greenhouse gas emissions. And also MSFA plan to help developing the pipeline among the member banks. MSFA could be a focal point for the knowledge sharing for member institutions. Member institutions can make an inquiry and getting information or getting the contacts, getting hints in terms of sustainable development. Now, I briefly would like to touch upon specifically at Golomto Bank how we have been working on developing the sustainable finance. We at Golomot Bank, in August 2019 to the end of last year, we started to work on, now we call it project phase 1. We actually introduced project management PMO approach, and this many part of the bank under the PMOs, using the PMOs technique, we worked on this project. Basic structure is when the bank work on sustainable finance, what are the approach was the first stage for our bank. First, we identified 5 main areas that we should work on. First, E&S risk management, environmental and social risk management. Bank shouldn't support the environmentally harmful or socially high risk industry or sector, for example. And this is E&S risk management to avoid the harming the environment and social issues. This is a defense part. Next one is a green finance. This is more positive to promote the renewable energy, clean energy, for example, or social inclusion, inclusive financing for microfinance or micro SME or women business. Positive approach to promote the green business. And third is the capacity building. The sustainable finance is a new knowledge that the traditional banker need to study in addition to the traditional banking knowledge. So the training and introducing the other knowledge sharings with other institutions, and training session was one of the main part. And at Golomot Bank, more than 80% of all 80% of the staff received sustainable finance training in the first and second year. Fourth is bank's own E&S footprints. This means bank's operation itself is better to be environmentally friendly and socially friendly, like electricity saving, water saving, and waste control and management, or for disabled persons, better accessibility to the branch, wheelchair slope, and many things are conceivable. And banks' emission may not be so big, but this is the first step also, that we make our operation itself very kind to the environment. And the last but the least, not the least, is the PR and reporting. Rather than just saying that we are doing green, accountability, we need to prove in a specifically and concrete manner how much we did. And that disclosure and honest and open approach is needed to get the credibility from any other stakeholders. Those are the areas we worked, and each area corresponds to each bank's existing department. E&S risk management corresponds to mostly the credit division. Green finance is a more business side, business promotion side, branch or corporate banking department. Capacity building is in HR department is in charge mainly. Own footprint is an administrative divisions will take care of mostly. PR and reporting is a management issue, and also marketing and those areas. PR section is involved. So during this project, we tried to put the sustainable finance culture into a bank's culture. Sustainable Finance Initiative is not CSR, and it is needed to be integrated in the bank's day-to-day business. I position this project was the time that we tried to put the sustainable finance culture and the sustainable finance idea, knowledge, and target in each bank's big banks relevant departments. And at the end, I expected those relevant departments now start to work at their own initiative of each area's development for sustainability. And these are some samples that we made so far as progress. It's a bit very basic, but waste management, renewable waste and others separately throw away. And we placed several solar panels to save and use the energy by solar. And we had a lot of training session. And this one, green one, is 2020. We issued our first annual Sustainable Development Report. This report is available on our website. Very much openly, we disclosed what we did or what we couldn't have done yet. All those informations are here. This is just a first version, and we continue this publication annually. Now, one more point for Golomt Bank is I'd like to mention is that Golomt Bank is one of the founding member of UNEP FI's responsible principles for responsible banking initiative. Big global banks like here, BNP Paribas or ING, among those big banks, the Golomt Bank's logo is here. This is a UN-based global agenda in order to involve the global banks globally. And currently, we started 130 banks joined. At that time, the total of those banks' assets was about 1/3 of the total of all global banking sector. And this initiative started to do the exchange information and setting up the milestone. And some banks are very much progressed. Some banks are still small, and or the country's situation is very different in such each different environment, but all help each other to make the things move forward. That was a mission of this initiative.
Okay, Kato-san, I think we should be moving for the next session.
Okay, all right, thank you. Time is up. Just my presentation is over. So I want to say the PMO approach is very helpful to make those big projects and all relevant parties move forward in a timely manner. I appreciate PMI, PMO's benefit for our daily business. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.